Woo, I'm all kinds of fired up today. Welcome to Frontline's Hope Day, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast, and we're in day 36 of the government shutdown, officially the longest in American history. Trump does everything bigger and better, right? But we begin with breaking news. The FAA is reducing air traffic by 10% across 40 high-volume markets due to staffing issues caused by the shutdown, which airports will be impacted, a lot everywhere all over the country. Also, in a follow-up on the story we broke yesterday, 11 are dead. That number is expected to rise. 15 are injured and 16 remain missing in Louisville, Kentucky, following that huge crash of that UPS plane taking off for Hawaii. The plane's black boxes have been recovered. Crash sparking a fire that stretched about half a mile, actually, with 280,000 pounds of fuel. And once again, a radical judge legislating from the bench, accusing the Justice Department of an indict first, investigate second approach in the Jacoby indictment. Where have we heard? Oh, wow, because they didn't do that for the last 4 years. The judge ordering the DOJ to provide records. I hope Mamdani comes with all the receipts. But first, our education system is breeding a bunch of commies. Let's do this. Just take a snapshot of where we are right now. Virginia, New Jersey, especially New York. Take a mental note of the state of these places. It's not great to begin with, but in 1 year from now, though, when you go to the polls in any state in the midterms, you vote on whether or not you want the rest of the country to look like what they currently do at that time. Because I guarantee you it ain't going to be good. These areas are the pilot programs of what Democrats want for every state. And people like Mamdani, they seem so nice and so welcoming and so poised. And once he got elected, boy, did that mask come off fast.
New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants. And as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
If you're in New York, no room for Americans there anymore. Thanks, Mamdani. You're about to get more of that cowbell. And thank God we still have Trump at the top.
If you want to see what congressional Democrats wish to do to America, just look at the result of yesterday's election in New York, where their party installed a communist as the mayor of the largest city in the nation. We have a choice between communism and common sense.
Think about this. Cuomo, who 5 years ago was like a far-left, anti-Trump liberal, and this cycle became the moderate option, backed by Trump even, without changing a single position. That's how radical the left has become. Just cover down, just let you know exactly what led me to this conclusion, by the way. Some far-left, trans-loving lunatic influencer shot a conservative icon 2 months ago, okay? Teachers, government employees, tons of other liberals, many of which didn't have a job before, a lot of which don't have a job now, celebrated his death publicly, then went out and held mass protests in nearly every city where some, not all, but a lot advocated for more violence against conservatives, while simultaneously lecturing me about Trump's rhetoric. Pound sand. Oh, but then Democrats also overwhelmingly just elected a dude for Attorney General. Let me say that again. Attorney General as the highest law enforcement officer in the state of Virginia, who is widely known before the election for wanting to shoot his political opponent and watch his kids die in their mother's arms. Sweet. I never want to be lectured ever again about any modicum of any type of decorum from another Democrat as long as I live. There is no moral fiber on the left at all. And that includes anyone who voted for them, by the way. Yep, generalization right there. Take it. And the big ticket item this morning that Republicans, or at least some, they're sitting there scratching their head, I wonder how this happened. Yeah, how did a Virginia elect a liberal white woman over a black female Marine that has upheld every constitutional value? How did the former governor of New York lose to a 34-year-old socialist Muslim from Uganda that has never held a real job and didn't even show up to the previously elected one he had either? How did Jack Ciattarelli lose to a woman that supported a system that drove up the price of electricity to one of the highest in the nations, raised taxes, and after, what did she have, $7 million of suspicious stock trades, and still got elected by the party that's screaming, eat the rich? Well, hey, If you don't know, maybe you should step aside from the leadership of the Republican Party forever. There's the door. Because I'll tell you how it happened. Because Democrats, for the last 30 years, have been indoctrinating our schools, teaching kids that socialism is good and all Republican values are terrible, to such an extent that when people like me went and pounded on the podium at Board of Ed meetings, we were put on domestic terror watch lists. I have been warning about this for 15 years, that this is the new battleground. And I've been told by my own people in the Republican, oh, Carl, tone it down. No, shut up. This is how we got here. We sort of got it when Glenn Youngkin was elected, and then we forgot about it after we won the election, like the single issue about parents in that state, and then Republicans lost it again. Republicans have been worried about decorum, then lecturing on policy, and libs are like, screw you, we're going to teach your kids how to be weak, trans, gay, and hate America. See you at the polls. And it worked. Look at the age breakdown here. 68% of men under 30 voted for Mamdani. I don't know where their testosterone went, with 84% of women under 30 also voting for him. And if you notice, as people got older and were less indoctrinated by our liberal education system, they tended to vote less and less and less for the self-proclaimed Ugandan socialist. This is 30 years of they played the long game. 30 years of them infiltrating our schools. Looks like, well, all we did as Republicans, what did we do? Take the high road. We had debate. Seemingly, Texas. Thank God for Texas, okay? You guys down there are awesome. You're the only ones that figured this out and decided to do something about it by making sure that parents could be in charge of their kids' education in their Constitution with over 70% support. I mean, you guys are the model for the new Republican Party. Please teach that to the other 49 states. But here, there's another factor here that corresponds with this, as you saw. Women voters. 84% of women under 30. 65% of women 30 to 34 voting blue. 81% of women voted for Mamdani. They can't even tell you why they voted for him.
How you feel about Zoran winning?
I'm happy about it.
Why are you happy about it?
I don't know. I don't.
I don't really know. I just do.
Really?
Yeah, because I keep seeing all the like cute TikToks of him like partying and clubbing, and honestly, he's like one for the people, you know?
That's why you support him?
Yeah.
I don't know. Enjoy your breadlines. 80% of young women voted in New Jersey for Cheryl. 78% voted for Spanberger in Virginia. These, in large part, are the same women that will stand out there and tell you, I don't feel safe, while casting a ballot for the guy who just promised to empty out the prisons and that violence is a social construct.
We've even found as legislators, when we go into these courts, the term violent crime is even used when people are stealing packages. Violent crime is even used when people are accused of burglary and there happens to be a housing unit in that same dwelling. So violence is an artificial construction.
This is another thing that Republicans have sat idly by on, too. The left has turned women against strong male figures. They have gotten women to vote on emotion and not policy by making anyone who criticizes Democrats, oh, they're mean and racist, and women don't want to do that. But God forbid, when one of these women is in danger originated by and is driven in large part by the stupid policies that they vote for, those same liberal women will absolutely call someone like me or someone else that's alpha when they need to be defended. And when those men do defend them, once they're safe and sound, of course, they turn around and they put them on trial like they did with Daniel Penny. That is the mindset of the modern liberal women. This is why I hate liberal women. This is why I say liberal white women are the biggest threat to America. They will literally vote for their own destruction and take everyone down with them. The left has carefully co-opted this self-hate by telling them, in large part in our educational system, that the feminist model of we don't need a man is the gold standard to such an extent that they have Stockholm syndrome and will reflexively vote 80% for the people literally marching their safety off of a cliff. And the third part in this trifecta, especially in New York, is immigration, something Trump has been warning about since 2015. And this is why the left rushed to try to destroy him over this, because Democrat policies are so awful. I mean, they are so crappy that they have to import their voters. 83% of New Yorkers who've been here for less than 5 years voted for Mamdani. 76%, as you can see here, who voted for Mamdani have been here less than 10 years. 54% of the rest, non-American-born voters in New York, voted for Mamdani. Only 34% of people born in and around New York City cast a ballot for the Ugandan socialist. So when I hear, like, washy Republicans, we're getting bad press, we need to ease up on ICE enforcement, you shut up and leave the party. We do not need to let up on that, unless you want another 83% of people voting for Democrats. Get them out. And the last thing, because this is what allowed the left to run this playbook, we need to weed out the rhinos in the Republican Party. Gone. Do not let them come back up for air. The ones who think that we can get along with Democrats and stuff like that, that's never going to happen. And if you don't realize that, I mean, I refer you to the Virginia Attorney General now. He wanted to kill his Republican opponent. And I don't know what it's going to take for them to realize this, but this happened in my hometown. I tell you, honestly, Republicans got shellacked in my hometown last night. Seats that Republicans have held for, I don't know, the last 100 years. Why? Because a washy slate of rhino Republicans primaried the existing strong Republican current board. And they won the primary, the rhinos won the primary 52-48 because they were taking the high road in the Republican Party. I strongly supported the existing board that lost the primary, but because I warned them about this for months, that those washy Republicans cannot win a general election. And I was right. They got absolutely destroyed. And I guarantee you, because of that, my property taxes are probably going to Actually, they already said they're going to do it. So, yes, they are going to skyrocket. Thanks. This hurts my soul. I come on here. Why are you so worked up about this, Carl? I come on here every night, and I fight, okay? I get attacked relentlessly. But whatever media group doesn't like what I have to say that day, I have people come to my house, okay? I get spit on, screamed at, flicked off in front of my kids, but it's worth it. Because I believe in the fiber of this country and that Republican values are better than liberal ones. But the upside here, and I'm trying to find a silver lining in all of this before my blood pressure pops my head, this presents us a very unique opportunity to absolutely crush these people in the next election if Republicans can dislodge our own head from our rear end. No mainstream Democrats came out against Mamdani. So, you bought this, guys. You tie him, and all of his awful policies are going to get people in a ton of trouble here in New York. You tie them to every single Democrat in these midterm elections. I don't care if it breaks up your family dinners, whatever. You're talking about your children's future here between communist and capitalist. You tie them, and you commit those failures to memory. And when you see women becoming the victims of mass crimes, businesses leaving, and property owners going bankrupt, you drill it down. You do it at TV, you do it in the press, you do it at the dinner table with your in-laws. I don't care. You need to fight this fight. He already represents a city that's bleeding population because of existing liberal policies. Same with New Jersey. Don't you get me started on California. Look, New York has lost like 30% of its school population because people are like, yo, I'm out. Your schools are weird. If the reality of those liberal policies, though, are smacking you in the face to such an extent that you don't want to be in those states anymore, guess what? Leave those crappy policies there. Do not come to red state. I don't even live in a red state. I live in a less blue state than New York, which is hard to believe, but don't come to red states and vote for the same stupid stuff that made you leave. But I will leave you with this. Trump's still your president. Josie Glabach, the redhead libertarian and host of Spaces X Josie, and Brianna Lyman, election correspondent at The Federalist. Josie, I mean, am I misplaced in my anger?
I've never been happier to live in Florida than after hearing your monologue.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much. But Brianna, this is not like, it's not a secret. This happened because of things we could see coming for 15 years. Why did most of the Republican Party outside of Trump not do anything?
Well, because like you said, Carl, those are rhinos. These aren't people who believe in small r republicanism, which Donald Trump actually does. He may not be able to articulate it eloquently, but Donald Trump understands the core values of this country. Rhinos do not, and they don't care. So to your point about, for example, Mamdani and immigration and how we imported a bunch of voters who have now elected a Ugandan socialist, that's because rhinos have always told us legal immigration is good. We can have millions of people come here every year as long as they come here legally.
Yeah.
They never cared about the impact that would have on America. Republicans also have no good way of turning out low propensity voters. Republicans are bad at turning out in off-year election cycles. It's just a fact. But rhinos don't care during off-year election cycles on how to turn them out.
But Josie, you're in Florida, okay? So look, Florida is no longer a swing state. It's not even close, okay? You guys landslide locked in red, all right, bright red. But it used to be a swing state. Virginia used to be a purple state. However, now it's blue as the day is long. And is this just a standard geopolitical shift?
I think a lot of Florida's geopolitics have to do with the Cubans. Cubans moved here, and then when they were trying to sell these democratic policies to the Cubans were like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
We're not gonna have it. We're not going to have that. And as for Virginia, they went through something really terrible, and that's how they got Glenn Youngkin. They had that assault of the girl, and then they covered it up, and that made national news, and parents woke up. It woke up a lot of parents. But I think they've forgotten what they were fighting for. And I mean, Winsome was his oh my God.
Lieutenant governor.
Lieutenant, yes, thank you for the word. His lieutenant governor, and they dismissed her for this far left liberal white woman whose policies are to trans the kids, are to put the boys back into the schools, are abortion through the point of birth for any reason at all. This is not somebody who protects your children. Yep. So it's sad, but I think that the parents went back to sleep in Virginia.
But, you know, Mamdani and all this should be studied, Brianna. And I think a lot of people didn't realize this. And I said this back in June when I heard this, because this was like his kind of Trump moment. Roll this soundbite real quick.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first?
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Boy, what Trump is doing to Canada, there's a lot of opportunities for us to partner better with them.
I'd love to meet Claudia Sheinbaum, but I'd probably head to Colombia, to my parents' homeland.
I'd like to go to the Caribbean as my first visit.
I would go to Israel.
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
That was the moment he won that primary.
Yeah, and Carl, look, that's a 15-second soundbite that I think even average Republicans would say absolutely, right? Politicians are supposed
he wasn't wrong.
Where he wasn't wrong. And I think what we have to look at is you see these 15-second sound bites. AOC, Bernie Sanders, Zohran Mamdani, they dominate in that stage because they have 15-second sound bites saying nobody should go hungry. People should be able to go to a doctor. And the average apolitical American hears that and says, I kind of agree with that. So Republicans have to reclaim that narrative because we have those positions, but we have better ways to get to them.
Yeah, but like Colombia, Israel, Ukraine, like, why would you, like, if you're the mayor of New York, Josie, why would you want to go to any of those countries?
They were talking to their donors. They weren't talking to the voters.
Ugh.
That's just what it comes down to. I mean, I'm America. I call myself America only. I'm a libertarian. So I would have answered the same way that Mamdani answered when it came to where I would go. It's like, no, I would stay in my state. I wouldn't be going to these foreign countries. I wouldn't be doing what they're doing, but they were speaking to their donors. They weren't speaking to us.
Well, and that guy won. Josie, Brianna, we appreciate it very much. All right, coming up, are the Dems using last night's elections to get Republicans to compromise? Well, we're going to get to that. But first, some states are refusing to report their SNAP data, and I'll let you know which ones those are. Details next.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morse's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today.
When it comes to my daily heart health supplement, I've got 3 rules. It's got to be plant-based, it's got to be doctor recommended, and it's got to be Super Beets from Human.
Discover why Super Beets is the #1 cardiologist recommended beet brand for heart health support at livehuman.com.
My employees and I want to thank all of you at Newsmax for your continued support of MyPillow. It's because of you and the grace of God that we're making it through. And to thank you, we're bringing you the best offers ever. Get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, now only $29.88. Our My Towels are finally back in stock. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. Towels that actually work. What a concept. And for the first time and the only time ever, you're going to get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code when you order today. Inventory for these offers are extremely limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
This is keratin debris, where nail fungus grows. Nonix Nail Gel cleans out fungus by removing keratin debris. Using Nonix, 90% of nails improve. Get clinically proven results. So effective, it's money-back guaranteed.
When you refuse to provide information to the federal government, doesn't that generally make people think that you might be hiding something? 21 states, along with Washington, D.C., have refused to provide SNAP data to the USDA, the administration which gives SNAP benefits out. Look, just look at this. We already know that there is fraud in SNAP. We do, period, full stop. We also know that, let's just say, some recipients aren't exactly, well, grateful for it either. But is it any coincidence that it's the blue states that are the ones refusing to report their data? Why? Well, Joe Pags, host of the Joe Pags Show. Sir, do you have an answer?
I don't. Well, I do. They're blue states, and they don't think that they have to be accountable. You know, we are sending money. It's siphoned out of our paychecks. It's taken from us homeowners. It's taken from us Americans, sent to Washington, D.C. Then they dole the money back out to help give people supplemental nutrition assistance. First of all, you shouldn't be on it forever. It's just supposed to assist you from here to there. But the fact that you don't want to tell us how many people are getting it or who's on it or how much money you're spending on it should mean that the federal government can now say, we're not going to send Carl and Joe's money to your state until you tell us how you're using it. Why is that complicated? I'm confused by that.
No, well, that's because you're a rational human being and you actually think things through, Joe. But
right.
Anyway, I want to get to something that happened today. Oral arguments began over the legality of Trump's tariff. As Trump said yesterday on Truth Social, this could have a huge impact on the financial and national security of this nation, but some skeptical justices, they are, here and there. I can't really read the tea leaves. Roll this real quick.
There have been trade disputes, and certainly, President Bush, steel imports and the like. Why do you think IEEPA has not been used?
If you look at those 69 emergencies, in fact, you go through them one at a time, which we had our team do, it's really hard to find one where you look at that emergency and you say, oh, tariffs is the natural tool you would use to address that emergency. It's no question that President Trump is by far the most comfortable with the tariffs as a tool, both of, economic and foreign policy, than many of the others presidents may have been.
The Supreme Court is still a government agency, and government agencies love to do, well, we've never done it that way before, so therefore, why should we do it that way? That doesn't make it illegal.
We have done it that way before, by the way. Ronald Reagan did it to punish the Japanese who were screwing us on electronics. Yeah. So what we have is a leverage play that's working very, very well. I don't know why anybody's suing over this to start. Why don't we want to have some sort of a strong standing when it comes to our trade policies with any nation on the planet? Why do we have to be the guys who always take the fall and take the short end of the stick? Yeah. And I'm not really sure how it's going to work out in the Supreme Court either, Carl, but I'll be honest with you. It's 2025. Can't we freaking see them now? Why can't we? Why do we only have to hear what's going on in the Supreme Court? Why isn't there a camera so we can see what they're doing? But at the end of the day, it's a great question. This is not unprecedented. Other presidents have done it, just not to this scale. Yeah. Let this man cook, as the kids say, and let him get some fair trade for us. Yeah. What's the problem?
And to answer your question, Joe, the federal government still uses floppy disks for things.
There you go.
Well, this is another one. Washington Congresswoman Premier Jayapal being undocumented apparently is not a crime. Watch.
Being undocumented in the United States is not a crime. And I think it's very important that all of our listeners understand that. It is a civil system. And so what she is now doing is turning a civil system into a massive criminal justice system. in the big bad betrayal bills, what I call it, that the Republicans passed earlier this summer. ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It is a division of the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS.
Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, it is a crime under 18 U.S. Code.
It's actually 8 U.S.C. 1325. It's illegal to come across the border. That is a crime, a misdemeanor. If you're sent back, you come back across, it's 8 U.S.C. 1326. It's a felony. But what happened under Biden, and this is a reality that everybody watching and listening has to understand. Under Biden, they literally ignored the statutes and called it civil to come across the border illegally. That's how they gave all these people this temporary protected status and everything else. It is a crime, and it must be enforced. Now, if you're in the country illegally and you just overstayed a visa, that is civil. But guess what, Carl? When I get stopped speeding, that's a civil fine. If I don't pay it, I'm in big trouble. So calling it civil or criminal doesn't really matter to me. What matters is we have the right to enforce it, no matter what it is. But by and large, she's wrong. It is a crime.
Well, she's wrong about a lot. Joe Pags, my man. Appreciate it.
Take care, Carl. Thanks.
All right, coming up, AOC using Mamdani's win as her big break to talk about changing the old guard of the Democrat Party. Right, lady, it was also supported by Bernie Sanders, who's old. We got that in our Culture Clash.
They said it could never happen here, but millions are backing the dangerous new socialism. Leaders pushing a radical agenda of big spending and more control over your life. Watch Socialism in America, only on Newsmax.
Are you or a loved one a military veteran that has been diagnosed with mesothelioma? Do you have questions about getting the best treatment or paying medical bills? Have you received the proper care and compensation you deserve? Let our firm serve you with the same dedication you served your country. We are exclusively devoted to helping those with mesothelioma. Call now to get this free book, and we'll answer any question you have. We'll even visit you.
Call 800-555-8958 or go to mesobook.com.
Think you need a new roof? Think again and save thousands.
We're America's most trusted roofer because we always try to save your roof rather than replace it.
We'll restore your roof for a fraction of the cost of a new one. Call now or scan the code and we'll give you an assessment of your roof for free.
Talking to people today about their retirement accounts. Sir, excuse me.
Yeah.
Do you have a retirement account?
Yeah, I've got a TSP from my old government job.
How's that doing?
I'm forgetting about it. I can't contribute to it. There are fees to get the funds and the investment options are limited, so the money's just stuck.
How about a gold IRA?
I can do that?
Absolutely. You can roll it into a gold IRA and you have all the same tax advantages as a TSP, but with more flexibility. And you can put physical gold and silver in your retirement account.
I'm taking control with Noble Gold Investment.
Your retirement, your rules. Noble Gold.
Your parents have given you some amazing gifts. Celebrate the ones you inherited with Ancestry DNA. Explore the detailed family roots, cultures, and traits that shaped who you are today for only $39.
Hello, I'm Franklin Graham. We've all been watching the storm Melissa as it hit Jamaica. The destruction is just incredible. Samaritan's Purse is responding. We've got planes taking supplies and people in and out of Jamaica. We've got helicopters. They'll be working up in the mountains and some of these remote areas where people are still cut off. So much destruction has taken place. So please pray for them. We want everyone there to know that God loves them and cares for them. So we need your prayers. God bless you. Thank you.
Is Pilates for you? Well, this is Club Pilates, and we think it's for everybody because that's the point of Pilates, to feel strong and balanced and good. Exactly. Everybody Club Pilates.
A peace plan for Gaza. For the plan to advance, Hamas must disarm. Instead,
tonight, terrifying images emerging from Gaza. Videos show Hamas-linked gunmen carrying out a public execution as they return to the streets.
Hamas on a rampage, executing Palestinians, bloody crackdown, spreading terror. For freedom, not terror, Hamas must go.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Get 35% off your first preferred set by using discount code Newsmax.
Day one of Mamdani's New York City takeover, but it sounds like AOC is trying to take the cake. She's leading the New Democrat movement. I bet Chuck Schumer is freaking out right now.
Well, what I think is so impressive about what Zohran Mamdani accomplished tonight, as well as the entire movement of New Yorkers that came out to vote for him, is that he had to not just defeat a Republican, he had to defeat a Republican and the old guard of the Democratic Party at the same time. And I think the message that that sends is that the Democratic Party cannot last much longer by denying the future.
She's running in 2028. I don't know if I could, handle a whole campaign of her screeching. It'd be a lot like Kamala, but certainly a lot of content for this show, though. Chrissy Clark, Newsmax contributor. Tony Katz, host of nationally syndicated, ironically named Tony Katz Today. Chrissy, it would be good for the show, bad for the country if she ran.
Absolutely. I just sent a text that said exactly that same thing, Carl. Yes, but make no mistake about this. This is not something that AOC has on her mind and heart that she wants to run for president. There's an infrastructure behind her and in place for this. The Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA, they are ramping up. They have 340-page reports on how they plan on getting a Democratic Socialist, which is just a socialist, elected in 2026 and in 2028. And I can't think of anybody other than perhaps Zohran Mamdani himself that would be running alongside AOC in that kind of a race to overthrow the Democratic Party. This is exactly what they have in place. And they're also funded very well, to the tune of $6 million last year with fundraising goals of $7.5 million this year.
From the billionaires that they say eat the rich. Tony, look, by popular demand, bring back mean tweets. And boy, did the White House deliver. An editor from the Daily Beast tweeted out this thing. He was complaining. No idea about the self-own. Okay, saying everyday life for the Daily Beast journalist dealing with the White House being called a moron, effing blind, mentally ill, or a crackhead. This is great. So they issued a hurt feelings report. Is there permanent feeling damage? Did you need a tissue for the tears? Reasons for filing the report. I am thin-skinned. I'm a little B word. I'm a crybaby. I want my mommy. This is exactly what I voted for, Tony.
Look, it's cute. It's funny. All that jazz. My issue here is this reporter. Where were you when the Biden administration wasn't even responding to your requests, wasn't speaking to the press? No word from Joe Biden, who clearly wasn't running the country. No word from the people you were trying to get answers from. This guy answers every question everywhere, all the time, in any place. And the condition is sometimes you're going to get called fake news. Biden answered no questions, and you didn't complain publicly. As a matter of fact, you told us through Jake Tappers and your other surrogates that you wouldn't complain publicly for fear you wouldn't get access to a guy you couldn't get access to anyway. I don't want to listen to the complaining. I don't want to hear from reporters that their job is sometimes tough or they get called names. You should see what's happening with real jobs out there.
Yeah, meanwhile, Trump's giving press conferences when he goes to the bathroom. It's unbelievable. All right, Chrissy, Whoopi Goldberg, one of my faves to dunk on, forced to read a disclaimer on The View earlier this week. And after saying that Trump used the Autopen for his pardons, take a listen to how she handled this one.
The Trump family has made about $1.8 billion profited off of this government. And he said that Joe Biden didn't know who he was pardoning using an Autopen. How come he don't know who this guy is?
Because he used an Autopen. The meetings that they're supposed to go to when they're listening to what the hell, what?
I love when Sonny passes notes.
We don't know if Trump used an Autopen to part. It was a joke.
Yeah. We don't know if Trump used an Autopen to part.
Come on. No,
but we do know that he didn't know who that crypto guy was.
Well, I'm sorry.
There's producers are worried about their butts getting sued, Chrissy.
As they rightfully should. There's a difference between a joke and a lie, and traditionally when it's a joke, I laugh after. There was nothing funny that Whoopi Goldberg said at all. In fact, to me, it just showcases that she thinks she can get away with absolutely anything nowadays because no one's going to actually take action against them for their lies. She can just cloak everything as a, quote, joke, even though there was nothing joking about it. It was just a straight up lie.
Yeah, exactly. Real quick, Boasberg might get impeached. Brandon Gill files those articles of impeachment, Tony?
Good. You want quick?
Yeah.
Good. Bye, Felicia.
Can you go for 15 more seconds?
Really good. Great. terrific, kind of awesome. I'm happy. I'll drink bourbon and watch. Again, did I mention Felicia? Yeah. Judge Boasberg spying on American citizens and allowing the spying, I should say. He allowed the spying on Senator Ted Cruz. And also shame on Verizon and go AT&T.
Yeah, well, he issued or authorized almost 200 warrants with very little evidence. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'll share that. I'll share a bottle of bourbon with you over it. Chrissy, Tony, appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Coming up, as the government shutdown drags on, it's now officially the longest shutdown in American history. Thanks, Democrats. Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin sounds off next.
Hi, I'm Charlotte McBride. I love working at Newsmax because every day we bring you honest reporting with real conversations, no spin. We're not telling you how to think. We're just giving you the facts and letting you decide what's best for you and your family.
My employees and I want to thank all of you at Newsmax for your continued support of MyPillow. It's because of you and the grace of God that we're making it through. And to thank you, we're bringing you the best offers ever. Get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regularly $119.98, now only $29.88. Our My Towels are finally back in stock. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. Towels that actually work. What a concept. And for the first time and the only time ever, you're going to get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code when you order today. Inventory for these offers are extremely limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Oh no, is this the episode with the breakup?
Reba, we can't agree on the house.
Y'all need Realtor.com. With over 500,000 new listings every month, you could find the one today.
This could be it.
Better put a key ring on it. Realtor.com.
Do you have a yo-yo smile? Sometimes yellow, sometimes white. It's a constant battle between everyday stains and whitening treatments. Until now, get Smile Actives, the daily teeth whitening breakthrough that gives you a more youthful smile and helps you keep it.
At 43 years old, I don't mess around with products that waste my time. Smile Actives is easy, and it works. No gloopy trays, no messy strips. Just add a little bit on top of your toothpaste when you brush your teeth. And ta-da, white teeth.
Just add Smile Actives to your favorite toothpaste and watch the magic happen. Our patented Polyclean microfoam lifts away deep stains for a dramatically younger and whiter smile.
You have a choice. You can have those yellow teeth and just be old Nana or Pop-Pop, or you could be smiling and dazzling and full of confidence. I love my white teeth.
Scan, click, or call for your whitest smile yet. And if you order right now, we'll double your whitening free. Get an extra Smile Actives as our free gift to you, but only while supplies last.
I drink coffee every day. I started noticing that my teeth were not as bright as I like them to be, a little dingy. The Smile Active, it works. Got your boy gleaming.
100% of users saw whiter teeth. Smile Actives lifts away even the toughest stains from coffee, wine, and food, gently restoring your bright, youthful smile. Plus, it's safe for veneers, crowns, and dentures.
It's really a no-brainer if you want to whiten your teeth.
Clinically shown to brighten your teeth 5 shades whiter in just 7 days.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Act now. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll double your order free. But hurry, this deal won't last. Smile Actives is guaranteed to work. Whiten your teeth or get your money back. No questions asked. Don't wait. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. That's free shipping. A free extra bottle. That's an incredible 58% savings. Scan the code, go to smileactives.com or call to get your beautiful whiter smile now.
We are in the midst of a disastrous Democrat-created government shutdown, and it is Democrat-created. The Democrat radicals in the Senate have shown zero interest in reopening the government. I think these guys are kamikaze. They'll take down the country if they have to.
Day 36 of the government shutdown, officially the longest in U.S. history, as the Democrats try to use their party's momentum from last night's elections in already blue areas to spur Republicans to support a compromise on another CR. Now, a clean CR would just be a continuing resolution of old Joey B's budget, which was controlled by people like this.
Does the government even borrow?
The government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by selling bonds.
Is that what they do? They sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds. I don't get it. I don't know what they're talking about. Like, because it's like the government clearly prints money. It does it all the time, and it clearly borrows. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this debt and deficit conversation.
That was Biden's chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, Jared Bernstein. Why would you continue a budget that guy had anything to do with? Just printing money on like endlessly and endlessly. Well, why would you continue that? Hard pass. Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin. Sir, look, respectfully, and I've known you for a while, this CR thing, they had 14 shots. How about you just shoot them over a bill that says, this is it, our new offer, take it or leave it, guys?
Well, actually, Carl, believe it or not, we're actually going to do that. I think what we're currently doing is we got some appropriation bills, 3, maybe 4 appropriation bills that will fund the military, fund ag, fund ledge branch, and possibly, if we could get it done, THUD. However, what we're planning to do is CR the rest of it until in January. So tomorrow, maybe Friday, we're going to put this bill on, allow them once again to decide if they're going to open the government or not, or they're going to continue to use the American people as leverage. I will assume they're probably going to. They had told me, Carl, that they were going to open the government up after the election. What happened, though, after the last night, it's like they got emboldened because they won blue states again. I mean, it's not like we'd ever won those states anyways anytime soon. But either way, they claimed it as a victory. They came back with a whole bunch of ridiculous demands, and now they think they're winning. So they think they have more leverage to put harm on federal employees and those people that need the assistance the most and use them as leverage again. So we're going to dare them to vote no on this funding bill because we have to do something. And like you said, it's a clean CR that Schumer wrote. They're not voting for it, so we might as well put our bill forward.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm not getting it anyway. Chucky Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, they actually sent a letter to Trump. Oh, but they're not asking, they were demanding a bipartisan meeting to end the shutdown. It's like 36 days later, I stand with Trump on this and saying, like, open the government, then maybe I'll meet with you guys.
That's right. That's exactly right. Open the government up, then we'll have a conversation. We're not going to award you for bad behavior. But remember, Chuck Schumer is extremely worried about AOC, but he needs to pay attention to Mamdani. I think if you listen to what AOC said last night about the old guard, I think that was a shot at Schumer saying, hey, listen, we're going to change a guard because Mamdani will be eligible to run in 2027 because, you know, he was just sworn in as a citizen in 2018. And she will try to run for vice president or president when Mamdani will take him out in 28. I think it's unique to think of that way, but I think it's very serious. And so they're underestimating what just happened. I think Mamdani became Chuck Schumer's worst nightmare.
I mean, it's interesting to watch. Like, you watch the State of the Union from Bill Clinton to even Barack Obama. Barack Obama was like pro, like getting people out of the country who came in illegally, told, his famous quote of pull your pants up to people with their pants hanging below their butt. All right. He was like a mainstream guy at one point, and now the crazy left is like so far. Do you really think someone like Mamdani is electable statewide in New York?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't underestimate where this party has went. And look what happened across the country yesterday in these blue states and who they elected to city and mayor offices, city council, mayor offices, and even in some other statewide positions. It is absurd what's going on in the Democrat Party, and they continue to move to their left. Their base is running the party now, and their base is this extreme socialist and now socialist/communist base. And they can't get away from it. But this is individuals like Tlaib and Omar and AOC and Jasmine Crockett and Bernie Sanders and now Mamdani that's running this party, and they're all openly embracing the socialist/communist direction. And so absolutely they can get elected statewide. If you can win New York with those kind of margins, openly speaking about what you believe in, you can absolutely win statewide in New York, and Chuck Schumer knows that. That's why he's acting the way that he is, Carl.
Unbelievable. Anyway, I think one of your children could beat him in a wrestling match. Senator Markwayne Mullin, we appreciate it, sir.
Probably. Hey, Carl, hold on. Before you cut me loose, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah. What's up?
Okay. Did I see you working out with 405 on bench?
Oh, yeah, 405 for 8 on bench, raw.
That's insane, brother. That's my max. I'm so upset at you right now.
We'll take care of it another time. All right, coming up, we've got all the things New York, New Jersey, Virginia, and a lot of other elections tonight, or last night. But what about Prop 50 in California? This was nuts. Next.
Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about YRefi. Did you know that as an accredited investor, when you invest in YRefi, your interest rate is fixed? And did you know that you can invest from 1 to 5 years and you can spread your investment over those terms to best suit your needs? And you have the freedom to take your monthly interest income or reinvest it, whatever you choose. When you invest in YRefi, your interest is calculated daily, you're paid monthly, and should you need your money back early, there is a liquidity feature. Would you like more information? All you have to do is call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST, or log on to investyrrefi.com. That's investyrrefi.com for complete details. And make sure you review the private placement memorandum and scan this QR code to view the disclosure at your leisure. YRefi, investing in America's future.
Everyday bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Used daily, dermatologist recommended Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream can help restore your skin's natural barrier and reduce the appearance of bruises. If you have mature skin and bruise easily, get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle and get back to having way too much fun.
Hello, I'm Franklin Graham. Have you noticed how much the world is focused on peace right now? Well, the real question is, do you have peace with God? You see, God made us and created us, but we've been separated from Him because of sin. And Jesus Christ is God's Son, and He came from heaven to this earth to save us from our sins. And you can have true peace with God through faith, simply believing on Jesus Christ. And if you're willing to turn from your sins and invite Christ into your heart, God will forgive you, and you can experience that true peace right now. Just pray this prayer with me. Just say, God, I'm a sinner. I'm sorry. I want to turn from my sins. I believe Jesus Christ is your Son. I want to trust Him as my Savior and follow Him as my Lord from this day forward. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. If you prayed that prayer, call that number.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. Please make a great gift. It's Trump time.
I'm talking about the New York election, and I really don't like this Mamdani guy. But in California, voters passed this Prop 50, Newsom's special election effort to redraw California's congressional district. Actually, a lot of people in that state thought that they were voting to impeach Trump with that. That's how ridiculous the Democrat Party is. Here's Newsom, though, last night.
We need the state of Virginia. We need the state of Maryland. We need our friends in New York, in Illinois, in Colorado. We need to see other states with the remarkable leaders that have been doing remarkable things meet this moment head on as well, to recognize what we're up against in 2026.
Notice all the states he named were ones that people are already leaving. Sarah Selip, founder of and president of 917 Strategies. Ashley Brasfield, reporter for the Daily Caller. Ashley, I mean, look, you want to keep representing states, you're losing half your population over the next 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is directly countering Texas that did their redistricting battle. And of course, where did everyone come from? California, to get away from Gavin Newsom and his crazy policies. So, looking at this, you said that, he was saying that he was going to impeach Trump. Nobody really knew what was going on. He kind of kept it under wraps. But also a very interesting factor about this is there is a commission in California that redistricts districts and redraws those lines in California specifically. This is what that eliminated. So it was this fair and more balanced way of doing it. So he just goes out of his way and, you know, takes over in this instance as governor of California to now take control of that redistricting totally into political hands now, rather than this, you know, commission. I believe it's California Citizens Redistricting Commission is what I believe it's called.
Yeah, but there is hope. The GOP, Sarah, did file a lawsuit to block these new House maps because honestly, they're pretty ridiculous.
Honestly, I'm not surprised. I mean, you look at what Gavin Newsom's been trying to do in Texas. It's a little bit more petty, though, because, you know, Democrats would be getting 5 new seats in very, very blue districts, right? But what's ironic about Prop 50 is that 12% of Republicans voted for it. I don't know if they knew what it was or if it just sounded good, but thank God for Harmeet Dillon and her camp, because otherwise Democrats would try and do the exact same thing in the states he listed: Illinois, Colorado, New Jersey, New York. Let's just see who's going to follow suit, because I think people are about to get really sick of Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, well, I mean, that guy, he's a mess. But he used this he gave this 10-minute speech about winning Prop 50, which, by the way, was completely misrepresented. Half the people didn't even know what they were voting for. But listen to this.
We're proud of the work that the people of the state of California did tonight to send a powerful message to an historic president. Donald Trump is an historic president. He is the most historically unpopular president in modern history. In every critical category, Donald Trump is underwater.
This is from the guy who just did an interview this weekend saying, I hate politicians who lie. Donald Trump is the highest popularity rating he's had basically yet.
Yeah, well, Newsom's always willing to put on a mask, is how I feel. He's going on all these podcasts, trying to make himself this more populist, moderate type. It's obvious what the vision is, in my opinion, going into 2028. And, you know, that's the part about the Democratic Party with all these elections going on, not just in California, you know, and this Prop 50 thing that he thinks is this grand victory. But, you know, it's this idea that there is a battle going on within the Democrat Party of, you know, are you going to have these people that in the establishment, and the people that are more on the socialist wing, really, when it comes to, and that's the battle that's taking place right now, and we have to keep an eye on going into the next election. But, you know, Gavin Newsom is just the pro at putting on the mask to the right group of people, saying the right thing. That's what he is.
But Sarah, the other thing is this is going to enhance the geopolitical shift out of these blue states. Buy stock in U-Haul, I guess. But these people for so long have just pushed Republicans to the limit. They just leave.
Honestly, we're not surprised at this point. Did you see the numbers going into Florida for real estate of people just saying they want to leave California and New York after last night? It's out of control. And especially if Ron DeSantis decides that he's going to get rid of all of the property taxes, dear God, New York City is going to be completely desolate. Maybe the Hamptons will be open, but you know, it's just wild. All of these Democrat governors think they can get away with things like this and pretending that they're going to impeach Trump. It's like, you're not that serious. Manage your own state, see what happens after that. And honestly, at this point, we just need to make sure that the states get back to being places that are livable, safe, and crime-free, because that's what people need to have for the American dream. People deserve to be safe.
100%. I mean, look, Connecticut, real estate agents are up 600% in inquiries in the last week, okay? And that was before the election. I can't wait to see what it is. Sarah, Ashley, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, before we go, finally, somebody standing up for persecuted Christians in Nigeria. Next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year your loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
Derriere, caboose, booty, badunkadunk. No matter what you call it, if you have hemorrhoids, your tushy is no laughing matter. So don't use a cream that treats your rear end like a joke. Get serious relief with Recticare Advanced Hemorrhoidal Cream. Recticare Advanced is seriously effective with 2 powerful medicines for rapid dual-action relief, soothing the uncomfortable swelling, itching, and pain of your hemorrhoids. For serious hemorrhoid relief for your buns, get Recticare Advanced.
AI company Palantir makes critical decisions for governments around the world. In 2019, Palantir bought $50 million in gold in case of black swan events. Not surprising what followed. In 2020, a pandemic shut down the global economy. And in 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. In 2023, we had a regional banking collapse. And in 2025, could a 1929 market crash be the final straw? Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 8 years in a row, home of the no fee for life IRA. Patriot Gold Group is patriots protecting patriots. Call now, 888-528-4290.
My employees and I want to thank all of you at Newsmax for your continued support of MyPillow. It's because of you and the grace of God that we're making it through. And to thank you, we're bringing you the best offers ever. Get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regularly $119.98, now only $29.88. Our My Towels are finally back in stock. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. Towels that actually work. What a concept. And for the first time and the only time ever, you're going to get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code when you order today. Inventory for these offers are extremely limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Finally protecting Christians. Roll this.
Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians. The USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns are blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible, horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. These are cherished people. These are great people. Leave them alone. Warning, the Nigerian government better move fast before it's too late. If they don't, there's going to be hell to pay.
You know, I was like lukewarm on bombing the mountain in Iran, but you know what? It's about time someone stood up for Christians, Rob.
He's doing a lot. That's a big one. Nigeria came out of left field, but
Yeah.
you know, as we've seen, you know, who is looking out for that one particular religion? We look out for a lot of other things in this world. Nobody seems to look out for the Christians.
We look out for a bunch of dumb stuff. Anyway, take it away, brother.
Carl, good to see you. Thanks so much.